Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual. That's it. Sorry, we're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number does work if you'd like to contact me. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We're going into some weird times, and we're not even in the fall yet, people. This is summer. And we are solving Revelation a verse at a time, but we're also solving the end times puzzle a verse at a time, just a little bit. So the main thing is it biblical yet? Are we in the Great Tribulation? Are we close to the Great Tribulation? When does it become biblical? Like the kids in the car saying, Dad, Mommy, Daddy, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And we say, well, it's 60 miles away. And kids don't understand how far 60 miles is. So anyway, Amir Tesfadi is the guy that really pushes this the most because I think he makes the most money off the pre-tribulation rapture. So he's pushing back and saying, no, the Great Tribulation has not begun yet. But he's really doing that. I think it's more of a Tetzel type of a case. If you remember Martin Luther and shaking the coffers and things like that, and I'll cover that in a slide much later. The main thing is you're seeing things fall apart in the world right now. This budget deal is not looking good for the United States. It just pushes things over a cliff later on. And so everybody knows something's wrong. And so we're asking the questions. And this is Eric Stackelbeck, who's a fine gentleman, but he's a pre-trib rapture guy, and Amir, who is, a fine man. It's just that he's making millions off this. So can you imagine him changing the story now and losing millions of dollars? And this is a business, people, okay? And the church or the believers are not supposed to be a business. This is a business, okay? So there's money to be made on both sides. I'm obviously post-trib. The main thing is there's the certainty of the pre-tribulation rapture, which there isn't, okay? Uh, there's 101 scriptural proofs for the pre-tribulation rapture. There aren't. And so the Great Escape or the Great Deception, so that's written by Elwood Trost. I don't know Marianne Manley. I don't know C.M. Boyer. I do know Keener somewhat. I have mutual friends with him. So Michael Brown, I don't like. He claims to be a Messianic Jew. He doesn't keep Sabbath, and he makes a lot of money on Sabbath. And he's a mean, nasty person to people like me. So, but Keener's great. I love Craig Keener from Asbury. Okay, so the main thing is what I want you to be aware of is that things that you're witnessing now are not random. Other scholars are coming over to my side right now, and I'll point that out. It's John Haller is one of them, but others are questioning what's going on because they realize they sound biblical. We're not in the Great Tribulation, but they sound biblical. Things are not random. There's a pattern. You can put this particular news story into a classification of the first seal or the second seal or the third seal or Matthew 24 type of criteria. You can literally put things in, as I would say, in terms of what I sell software. And so you can take that image or that video or whatever else, and you can classify it with metadata of how it matches with the Bible. And so at that point in time, you realize you must be in the birth pangs. And so, as I mentioned, Haller's come over to my side. So Amir again is saying our rapture to be with Jesus, not only is it biblical, it is imminent. The sign of all times that was given to us that we are at the end is happening before our generation's eyes. So that's a mirror. And other people make money off this too. So Ed Hinson's been making money for years off this. Mark Hitchcock makes a ton off this too. Can we still believe in the rapture? They would believe so, but this is their business model. And then David Jeremiah makes a lot of money too, after the rapture, post-apocalyptic talk, but they're really shaking their money makers, people. Okay, there's money in this. Some of us don't make any money off this. We're doing this because it's important for you to see what I believe is the biblical truth. And so we do the philosophy of the end of days here. When do the seven seals occur? When do the trumpets and the bowls? Are we in Revelation? We're doing the philosophy. What's the thought behind the thought? So everybody wants to cram it all into the last 7 years. Nothing occurs beforehand. There's a doctrine of imminence. We'll discuss that later on in the verses that may or may not apply. They try to cram the trumpets together, expand the seals out over the whole time frame, but cram it into the 7 years. And so I'm arguing that the seals are outside of this. They're the birth pangs. And at least I have one other person that just flipped over to me. But the main thing is, our side is making some waves against the pre-trib side because they are coming out 2 weeks in a row from Jan Markell, and they're discussing this. So it doesn't have to all occur. There's nothing biblical that says that it all needs to occur in the last 7 years. They're putting time frames onto this that really aren't biblical. Okay, so who started this up? Well, really, Imminence started up with 1830 time frame, and the Plymouth Brethren and those people pushed it. But then people like Chuck Missler pushed it hard, really, really hard, and people loved Missler because he was doing some other studies that were fun to do. But he pushed imminency and the rapture hard, and he was the type of guy that won those arguments. So this is the pretext for the rapture, which is that doctrine of imminency. So the rapture is protected by imminency. Nothing needs to occur before the rapture. Once again, nothing needs to occur before the rapture, where it would be earthborn people. There's nothing really heavenly about it. This is the time frame leading up to the final 7 years. So why we aren't appointed to wrath. That's what they're going to argue all day long. It's wrath related. Well, the problem is there's God's wrath, there's Satan's wrath, there's man's wrath. There is Fox's Books of Martyrs, which details horrible deaths, martyrdoms over the last 2,000 years. And really, you could argue Jews have been martyred too. So I'm saying it's not biblical. I realize that, Missler has given you some great verses here, and I'll cite more. The problem is there's no timing in those verses at all. It's just a hope that it will be imminent. That's the problem with the doctrine. It was just created by the people from the Plymouth Brethren, Darby especially, to give us this hope that, and really now it's just a huge moneymaker. Okay, so going forward, am I telling you we're in the final 7 years? No. Is Jan Markell discussing it? Yes. She's finally admitting on the right-hand side here the hoofbeats of the Four Horsemen. She has to admit it. It's so obvious, people. You can look and see the signs now and see that these are the Four Horsemen riding. And I truly believe all four are riding now. Now, I can't say prophetically speaking I have anyone to match up with me, but it just seems as though we are in the fourth, which means, and I called the third. Well, I didn't call it. I had someone else call it back in 2012. And so we've had 12, 13 years of this. And so now it seems like the plagues are matching up with the biblical idea of what it sounds like. Okay. So they're getting the idea that we are in it now because they take some scriptures out of context. That's Amir speaking with Jan. No, I'm not. I am looking at the scriptures, I'm looking at the news events, and I'm categorizing them properly, which is what we're supposed to do. Okay. So no, we are not in the final 7 years. We are in the Matthew 24 birth pangs, the four horsemen that ride like birth pangs before we enter the final 7 years. Jan is hedging her bets because she realizes things are changing, and we could go in at some point in time. Now, we see the signs of it, and so she's willing to at least discuss this. Now, once again, Jan Markell runs Understanding the Times, Olive Tree Views, and back in 2017, she posted an email saying, are the Four Horsemen riding? And she was forced to take that thing down. So we see that all the time. People put out something and then people blast them and they have to take it down. And Jan was forced to take that down by whoever controls her financial empire. Okay. And I'm not saying Jan's a bad person, but I'm saying that she has a financial empire and she has people that she answers to. Okay, so Amir is answering this question, the end times, how close are we? I think that there is no biblical reason, there is no logical reason, this is Amir speaking, for us to experience God's wrath or to go into the Great Tribulation. That's Amir speaking, and this is the most recent time frame. This is Hoofbeats of the Four Horsemen, Amir and Jan, and this was in either late May or early June of 2023, and this is his book on the other side. Keep in mind, he's selling many, many books. He's become a multi-millionaire off this. He is the Tetzel of the end times. Okay, so shake the coffer, Amir. Okay, has the tribulation begun? Avoiding confusion and redeeming the end times in these last days. Redeeming the time in these last days. Okay, so continuing on with Amir, 2 shows in a row talking about has the tribulation begun. Of course, he's aligned with Calvary Chapel, and he raised from the dead even Jesus, who delivers from the wrath to come. And so they're going to argue constantly that he will save us from the wrath. But which wrath? Is it God's wrath? Is it man's wrath? Is it Satan's wrath? And so they don't seem, they're twisting the verses. 2 Peter 3:16, they're twisting Paul. Okay, so he's selling again with Barry Stagner a book, Bible Prophecy, the Essentials, what we need to know about the last days. Amir. He makes the most of it, I believe. Jan has a large mission, but Amir makes real money off this. Okay, our world is exceedingly sinful. We deserve wrath. That's my comment. Amir on the other side is saying it's not biblical, it's not logical, it's not going to happen. Amir is a paid actor. He is paid very handsomely for his comments. He's become a millionaire from teaching the rapture. Okay, so the wrath of God, we're not appointed to the whole wrath of God, and he's parsing and he's twisting and he's talking about the Four Horsemen because he has to, because it's so evident right now. Now we're going to flip over to John Haller. I think John's a great guy. I cite him the most of any eschatologist. The arrow is mine down there. Otherwise, it's just a screenshot from John. This is a new diagram that he put out on 5/28 and of 2023, of course, from Fellowship Bible Chapel. And he's really talking about many topics, but he started this one out and then again today with this particular graphic that shows the Four Horsemen and how they increase over time. They seem to open up very quietly, like a seal would open very quietly, and then they expand and they become horrible over time. And so he's arguing, I think he's arguing for sure this, which is the birth pangs relate to the four seals. And he's not saying that they're all four open, but that there seems to be signs of all four open. Okay, and so the other three horsemen of the first four seals, it's going to unfold over time. So they increase, they grow. I'm putting on the top here. This is me. This is Joel Blackford on the top of John's 6/4 of 2023 weekly prophecy update. The dates. I'm saying that the first seal probably opened at 67 as they handed back the Temple Mount. That's the most incredible, horrible thing that's ever happened in our lifetimes as they handed back the Temple Mount. And that really delayed everything. Okay. And then the next event that was huge was 9/11. It really took peace from the world. So as you look at the second seal, look at it in a Hebrew mindset. It's lakak shalom. Lakak is seizing peace. And the Bush-Cheney faction came into power completely, and Obama did it too, and other presidents. Trump didn't do it as much, but they kicked off wars worldwide. Okay, and so then the next event was 2012, and that was when a man came to my particular church at that point in time and said the third seal is opened, and the signs will be the signs of that fall in 2012, which was Hurricane Sandy, and it was perfectly predicted, and then it made sense scripturally. It was 1 Kings 12. So then I'm arguing that it seems as though the fourth seal is open from 2020 to 2023. I can't prove it, guys. I can't. It just seems like it. But basically, John Heller on the other side, this is closed caption saying, and I believe that the birth pangs do relate to the first four seals, at least. And I agree with him. And I'm amazed that he's coming over to this side. It's not a popular opinion. And also, there's no money in it. Nobody wants to send you any money for books. John doesn't have any books to sell anyway. John's just doing this because he's a good guy. Okay? And I hope I'm doing this because I'm a good guy. So now we're going to move into MacArthur, Mac Daddy. So he put this out in 2009. Is Christ's return imminent? Okay, and this is from Grace to You, and he cites the verses. So we're going to look at all of those verses in context, and you're going to tell me, do they relate to timing? Is there a specific timing in any of those verses? Okay, so return and resurrection timing verses, I'm arguing no. Overwhelmingly random verses. The whole thing is going to be random, but we'll see. You'll be the judge. Okay, the New Testament is consistent in its anticipation of the return of Christ, that it might occur at any moment. Okay, fine, sure, yeah. Doesn't give any timing, doesn't say doctrine of imminence, anything like that. Will not, because the church is never asked to look forward to the tribulation. Yeah, but the saints are. And so you can't argue that it's a church at that point in time. You could just say it's home fellowships and saints, okay? So the problem is you'll see a lot of saints. So let's go through MacArthur's verses. Ready? Okay, 1 John 11:25. Yeshua said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever puts his trust in me will live, even if he dies. I don't see a rapture timing there, okay? I don't. But it's a nice verse. It's wonderful. So you'll resurrect. But the resurrection occurs after he returns, okay? You know, as he's returning, and that's after the 7 years. Okay, so then we'll move on now to 1 Thessalonians 4:15 through 17. So once again, playing with Paul. When we say this, we base it on the Lord's own word. We who remain alive when the Lord comes will certainly not take precedence over those who have died. So once again, the resurrection occurs before what we call the rapture. And that means you wait the 7 years. This defeats their argument. I wouldn't even cite this verse. It's so debilitatory to their verses, okay, and their conjecture. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a rousing cry, with a call from one of the ruling angels, and with God's shofar, and that would be the great shofar call. That would be a tekiah gedola. Those who died united with the Messiah will be the first to rise. Then we who are left alive will be caught up to them. That is basically a rapture verse, but we're after the resurrection. So the rapture people don't account for that. And meet them in the clouds to meet with the Lord in the air, and thus we will always be with the Lord. There is no timing for that other than after the tribulation, okay? So this defeats their argument again. Twisting Paul. 1 Thessalonians 5:1 through 3. If you have no need, but you have no need to have anything written to you, brothers. You should know this. You can read the Bible for yourself about the times and the dates that will happen, because you yourselves well know that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. For those that don't know the Bible. For us that know the Bible, we'll know. When people are saying everything is so peaceful and secure, that destruction will suddenly come upon them the way labor pains, birth pangs, like the seals, know by the labor pains, come upon a pregnant woman, and there is no way they will escape. Is there a timing in there? No. Okay, Hebrews 10:25. We're looking for timing, people. But in connection with the coming of the Lord, Yeshua, our Messiah, and our gathering together to meet him, we ask you, brothers, not to be easily shaken in your thinking, or anxious, or crazy, or any of those types of things of a spirit, because of a spirit, or a spoken message, or a letter supposedly from us claiming that the day of the Lord has already come. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for the day will not come until after the apostasy. So this is 2 Thessalonians 2:1 through 3. I'm sorry, it's not Hebrews 10:25. That's down below. But this is basically, they have turned apostasia in the Greek into the pre-trib rapture. They say, yeah, that's the rapture. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay, it's the apostasy. It's the falling away. It's falling away from faith. It's falling away from the Bible until after the apostasy has come. That defeats their argument, and the man who separates himself from the Torah has been revealed, the one destined for doom. That's for 2 Thessalonians 2:1 through 3. And then we move forward into now Hebrews 10:25, not neglecting our own congregational meetings, as some have made a practice of doing, but rather encouraging each other. And let us do this all the more as you see, this is observable, as you see the day approaching. There's no timing there. No timing. Okay, continuing on, a few more verses here. James 5:7 through 9a. So brothers, be patient until the Lord returns. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth. He is patient over it until it receives the fall and the spring rains. That's a good clue. That's umol kosh. That's basically how the Shema reads. And the milk, I'm blanking on the other word. Anyway, so the point is, there's the fall rains and the spring rains. You two be patient. Keep up your courage, for the Lord's return is near. Don't grumble. No timing in there. No timing. Accomplishing of the goals of all things is close at hand. Therefore, keep alert, self-controlled, so that you can pray. There's no timing in there. 1 Peter 4:7. Okay, children, this is the last hour. You have heard that an anti-Messiah is coming, and that in fact anti-Messiahs have risen now, which is how we know that this is the last hour. Yes, yeah, we know we're in the last hour, but it doesn't give you a timing. It doesn't say imminency before the pre-trib rapture. Okay, it doesn't say that. They're twisting Paul again. They're twisting Peter. They're twisting John. They're twisting James. Sorry. Okay, and then this is Max gaslighting you further, okay? And so this is his opinion of all of this. Second, nothing in the New Testament ever suggests that we should defer our expectation of Christ's appearing until other preliminary events can occur. The one apparent exception is 2 Thessalonians 2:1 through 3, which we already read, quoted in full above, which says the day of the Lord will not come until the falling away, the apostasia, comes first, and the man of sin is revealed. This is obviously a key text for those who believe in the tribulation is next on the prophetic agenda, and that the church should be expecting the reign of Antichrist rather than the return of Christ. Indeed, if 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 3 actually means Christ coming for the church cannot occur until after the 7 years of the tribulation, it nullifies everything the New Testament preaches about the imminence. He's twisting, he's gaslighting you. He's literally confusing people with this concept. So again, actually means Christ coming for the church cannot occur until after the 7 years of the tribulation. It nullifies everything the New Testament teaches about the imminence of Christ's return, and I'm arguing that is gaslighting. It's an argumentation trick by Johnny Mack, and it's wrong. It's wrong, and it's a moneymaker. Okay, so the monster is preaching the pre-tribulation rapture. What are the mental ramifications of promulgating the pre-tribulation rapture to the masses? So once again, 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 3, but in connection with the coming of the Lord Messiah. So basically, the apostasy has to come first. It defeats their argument, people. You can see that down below in the pink. Okay, so don't let anybody deceive you. Okay, so I'm arguing Jurassic Park language here, which is your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't think if they should. And so the problem is with Darby and the pre-trib rapture and the doctrine of imminency, they thought that they could teach this and really give people hope, but they didn't think if they should. Okay, there is no certainty of this particular document, the pre-tribulation rapture, or the doctrine of imminency that protects it, the pretext to it. And so the problem is they're twisting the words so that they can make a lot of money off this. This has been a huge money maker. Okay, it's Tetzel all over again, and there's Tetzel on the right-hand side. Those are the books on the left-hand side that make a lot of money for Timmy LaHaye, who's deceased now, for Dennis McClelland, for Paul McCarty, and for Amir. Big money because they're shaking the coffer. This is like Tetzel saying, as soon as the gold in the casket rings, the rescued soul to heaven springs. Okay, do you see the similarity between Tetzel and Amir? It's money. It's a money thing because it's an easy sale. You go up to people and say, somebody's in purgatory, give me some money and I'll get them out of purgatory. And it's the same thing with the rapture. It's the easy way out. There's no faith. There's nothing there. It's just easy peasy. That's the problem with Tetzel. So once again, this is just a sect of believers. The rapture people are not the majority of believers across the world. They're probably 5% of the believers across the world. What they're avoiding are the metrics to assess biblical timing. Okay, that's the what. The where. Where are we on the timeline? Well, we assess that here. Do we admit that these are birth pangs and that we're in the seals? And then I'm saying that they're being very random, and it's like boiling a frog. Well, the frog's going to jump out. You should be jumping out of the pre-trib rapture and looking at the Bible and events and comparing and contrasting like the Bible tells you to do. Chew on it, okay? Which is basically my take on 1 Thessalonians 5:19 through 20. Okay, so are we there yet? No, we're in the birth pangs. And even John Haller agrees with me. Praise God. I've got one person. And now he doesn't agree with everything that I do because I'm a little bit out there. But the main thing is we're in the birth pangs, people. We're in the seals. We are. They're open. Now, whether you agree with me that we're in the fourth seal, I see enough signs of it that I think we're there. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the Great Tribulation. We're not in a random situation. We are literally in a biblical situation leading up to the final 7 years. That's where we are. You need to work on your garments. You need to get them clean. You need to work on, it's the wedding that's coming up. It's Yeshua marrying us, and you won't get in with dirty garments. So according to the Bible, you need clean garments. What does that mean to you? So I'll give you a hint, read Revelation 19. Actually 15:4 and 19:8 will tell you about the garments and how you need to have clean garments, because otherwise you will be thrown out. Okay, you will be thrown out. So be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. And there is a great debate going on. I hope that you will see the logic in being open on this one and at least going as far as John Haller has. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.